The following is a special presentation of the First Horizon Green Sports Zone. This is the Gary's Paint and Body Shawn Jones Show.
Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone. Welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, where we cover everything on Rebel Hill with the South Greene Rebels football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Shawn Jones. We'll recap this past week's 56-7 win over North Greene on homecoming night and preview another home game this week and another county game with the Chuckey-Doak Black Knights. But first, as always, we need to cut to a quick billboard real quick and hear from our main sponsor in First Horizon. So we'll be right back after this quick break here on First Horizon's Green Sports Zone.
The Gary's Paint and Body Shawn Jones Show. Brought to you by IHOP at Davy Crockett TA Travel Center, Ashley Drug Center, Gateway Ford Nissan, Tommie's Plumbing, by Gary's Paint and Body, and by First Horizon Bank.
Here's a twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
Welcome back to First Horizon's Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, where we cover everything atop Rebel Hill with the South Greene Rebels football team. As always, I'm joined here with Rebels head coach Shawn Jones. Coach,
hello.
How's it going?
Doing fine. Doing fine.
Another practice in the books, another game in the books. 56-7 win over North Greene. We'll jump right into it. Big win on homecoming night. I know homecoming is a coach's least favorite game because of everything that happens throughout the week. And we're glad to see that you got bailed out to make it to the game on Friday night and be able to pick up the 56-7 win. So talk about how great of a day and night it was.
That was the funny part. You know, I was getting calls all afternoon, and if people don't know what happened, we were having homecoming down here and done a little a teacher dance and everything, and the resource officer, I beat him, so he thought it'd be funny as I was coming off to put the handcuffs on me, and of course one of my players put on social media, game canceled, coach arrested, and I mean it does look like I'm literally really getting arrested. I had coaches call, school board members call, and I could tell everybody, look, it's just fake. And I had some coaches like, I was coming to get you out of jail, you know. We believed it, and I said, wait a minute, you believe I was going to jail? So it was actually a fun part. You know, North Greene's coaches get here, and they got calls about it. I think they was afraid to call me because they actually thought I was a jail coach from Happy Valley. Called one of them, and Coach Tilson, and so it was a fun week, fun and everything. And then it was even better Friday night. You know, we came out, we felt like we dominated from the get-go, and again, North Greene's got a great team. You know, they really do. You know, they hadn't played us in a few years, and they had our utmost attention. They got some athletes back there. Quarterback's the real deal, and they got some skilled people and some linemen. You know, me and Coach Tilson had talked. You know, one reason that we quit doing the series, you know, he wanted to be able to. He felt like compete with us, and so he got his teams better. He's done a great job out there with the Huskies, and they're going to be fine with what they got. But you know, we just come in and we felt like, you know, if we played our game, we could do some of that stuff, and we did. You know, we played pretty much complete game on offense. Didn't have to punt. You know, defense just had one hiccup there, started the second half. But really proud of this team. For everybody on the team, you know, from the line, you know, they make us go, and Nash and Tripp and Charlie and all those guys that scored. So and Trent, it was a good night.
What does it take to carry out such a dominant win like that over such a talented team? Because we talked all week last week about how much improved North Greene has been, where they may be the best that they've ever been, and you come out on Friday night and you carry out a game plan that allows you to have 0 punts, only one offensive touchdown allowed, and you get off the field with a running clock in the fourth quarter. What does it take to get such a dominant win like that over such a talented team?
Just execution. I mean, because if you know, they got 11, we got 11, and we've always said that no matter how good a team is, if you can run, block, tackle, you know, it's and catch a ball, you know, you're going to have positive things happen. So it was just all about execution. You know, the guys had a good week last week, although it was homecoming. Had a good week of practice, and like I said, you know, they had our utmost attention. You know, it been a couple years since we played them. You know, they were better, and you know, I went and watched them play West Greene. I was really impressed with what they done. And at a county game and at homecoming, you put all that on there, you think, well, maybe you have a step up, but we didn't. We put it all together Friday night. and it felt like we dominated that bunch. And again, that's a good bunch. Like I say, they play in a tough region, but hopefully that made them better. That's what you want to do. And when you come out of a game like that, if you're the opposing team and you get beat like that, you want the game to make you better. And hopefully we help Coach Tilson and his team find some stuff they can get better and go and try to win single A.
500-plus yards of total offense, 400-plus rushing yards. Either they're South Greene records or they are on the list of highest total yardage, rushing, or total in a game for the Rebels. I mean, it was a total beatdown by the offensive line up front, and you talked about them after the game in the locker room, after the game in our post-game interview on the field. And again, we've got to talk about the O-line every week because of how dominant they've been so far to pave that way for those offensive playmakers. Well,
that's the thing about, you look at the NFL, those guys, they probably don't care because they're getting paid.
Mm-hmm.
They get paid big bucks. And in a high school level, you see your skill guys getting, players of the weeks and in the paper and rushing, and they never get out there. And so I mean, our line knows that, and I reiterate it all the time that they're the biggest part. Slipped up after that first win and didn't mention them, and they let me know. But Heath Norton, Colton Silvers are our two tackles that anchored us the other night, and Braxton Critton, he played right guard. He'd been in and out, and he stepped up. How do we know he played well? Well, we didn't have to take him out, and we didn't, holler his name all night. And so that's when he played well. Pablo Rosario, great kid. He played 2 years ago. Come in here from New Jersey. Didn't play last year, but come back and said, Coach, I'll play wherever you want me to. And it's turned out to be a great center, something that we was looking for. And then our left guard, we had to 59 was there, and we played. Of course, we played different. Teacher Murdoch, Lucas Murdoch was that left guard, and so those were the five that got the job done. And of course, number 2, Lucas Coucher, tight end. I'll mention him because technically he's a lineman. So those 6 done a great job. They're not blocking for those guys, and they'll be the first to tell you that if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't do what they do.
And then Nash Rader, a terrific game from him once again. 6 for 7 passing, 144 passing yards with 3 passing touchdowns, 8 rushes on the ground for 99 yards, and another trio of touchdowns. 6 total touchdowns, 243 total yards. He couldn't be stopped on Friday night.
Yeah, he really anybody on offense that touched the ball felt like it couldn't be stopped. Trip run for what? I think another 220.
13 rushes, 220.
And he had a catch, and I think he had a screen, and I think he had a rush one. I can't remember. I think that's what he had. Charlie had 2 touchdowns, and then a freshman had the other one. I think it's the way it ended up. So those guys, just did what they're supposed to, and just again. Just a total team effort Friday night. Hope we get that same effort this Friday night.
I've not done the math yet. I'll do it real quick. But when you have 220 yards, only 13 rushes for 17 a carry by Tripp, that's almost as impressive as what Nash did, both passing and rushing. And like you mentioned, he only gets into the end zone twice, but my God, every time he touched the ball, it was almost an automatic first down.
Yeah, and if you look, both of those guys, Nash and Tripp, either one of them or sometimes both of them been over, at least one of them's over 100 yards this year. That was Tripp's second over 200. I think it was Tripp's second over 200, or Nash had one. I can't remember. It's a blur with those two. So that's what we've got to keep doing. And him throwing, that was a big deal to us because as you go throughout the season, if people try to load the box on you to stop your run, you got to be able to throw the ball. So we feel confident in what Nash can do. And some of those guys, hopefully throughout the season, those receivers, you start hearing their names because we got some guys who can catch football. We had a big catch by Simon on the sideline. Again, Charlie and Tripp on the backfield. So again, those guys will have to step up, and we feel like sometime this year the receivers will have to win us a ball game, and I think they will.
Yeah, in the passing department, you have Tripp, 2 receptions, 33 yards and a touchdown. Charlie, 2 receptions, 77 yards and 2 touchdowns. You'll hear a lot of him mentioned this Saturday morning on the Relentless Rebels episode 8. So tune in for that. And then I don't know who had the other reception. I know Simon had one, and then I'm missing the 6th in my notes. But let's talk about the defense a little bit more. We talked about them a little bit at the beginning, only allowing 1 offensive touchdown there in the beginning of the 3rd quarter. But once again, you force 3 turnovers. It's always huge to force turnovers in a game, and they're not fumbles, they're interceptions. So the secondary's getting after it. You had one from Trent Haynes, and then you had 2 from Shawn Owenby, who I believe has had 3 now in the last 2 games. So the secondary has been a menace on the field. What's worked well for the secondary so far this year?
Well, they're just real athletic, and they're doing what Coach Case tells them. If you look if you look at the games, it's quite interesting. I got to think about this the other day when I'm on the football field. I'm thinking, first game I think we gave up 28. We got beat 28-24. Second game of boom, we gave up
17.
2 touchdowns and only a field goal in the second half. Against Johnson County, we only gave up 1 touchdown and 2 points. They had 10. Other night, we gave up 1 touchdown. So the way stats are going, we get a shutout this week if you look at it, or hold them to 3. And either way, we'll take. But it seems like each week the defense is getting better, and so that's what you want, So so hopefully we can start getting a few shutouts here. But defense is playing well, secondary is playing well. We just got to keep trucking. We're trying to rotate a bunch of guys, and that's good that you can rotate a bunch of guys and keep trucking along there. So, like I said, just had that one little hiccup after halftime. We'd got one of the start linebackers out. I know we're not trying to make excuses, but we couldn't get a call in right, and we pretty much stayed in the same formation on defense the whole drive, and we couldn't get it fixed. And but that's okay. Coach Case does a great job of that side of the ball, and very, very proud of the defense also.
Trending downwards to, like you said, potentially a shutout now. I know everybody here on the south side of Greene County would love a shutout this Friday night because it's the Chuckey-Doak Black Knights. It's a big rivalry game. It's a big cross-county clash. It'll be this Friday night, and if you can't make it to the game, you can, of course, watch it as it'll be this Friday's First Horizon Greene Sports Zone Bachman Bernard Game of the Week presented by Tommie's Plumbing. You can check it out on the Greene Sports Zone Facebook and YouTube page along with the Radio Greenville Facebook page, or you can listen to it on the Jewel 99.5 WSMG. So whichever way you want to listen to the game or view the game, check us out on Friday night. Or as always, you can come to Rebel Hill.
That's right.
And support the Rebels or the Black Knights if you're a Chuckey-Doak fan or supporter watching this. Before we talk about it too much more, as always, we need to get a quick word in from our sponsors first. So we'll be right back to talk about that game here on First Horizon's Greene Sports Zone.
Here's a twist on your typical banking options. What if instead of choosing between a big bank or a small bank, you had one bank that's the best of both? That's First Horizon. Big bank muscle with small bank hustle. Big bank convenience and small bank connection. When the best of big meets the best of small, you get it all. To help you on the road to your horizon. First Horizon Bank.
Tommie's Plumbing has been in business for 30 years, and we're still growing because we treat our customers like family. We are proud to do any job from kitchen faucet installation to a complete home repipe. Tommie's Plumbing offers warranties on most products installed by our technicians. When the job is done, our friendly professionals make sure to clean up. We invite you to visit our new showroom in Jonesboro to see our quality products for yourself. Tommie's is the only one to call when you need a fast, reliable, professional plumber in the Tri-Cities.
At many dealerships, you get what you'd expect. Games, gimmicks, and shady sales tactics. At Gateway Nissan in Greenville, expect the unexpected. Low prices, convenient service, and a great buying experience.
Get our Gateway exclusive lifetime powertrain warranty.
No worries for life.
You deserve the unexpected. It's the #1 reason you gotta get to Gateway.
Shop online at GatewayNissanGreenville.com.
Or take the super short drive down Highway 11E to Gateway Nissan in Greenville.
Win or lose, it's a family tradition. "24-hour hot breakfast, cold drinks, and a table big enough for the whole team, or just your team. IHOP at Davy Crockett Travel Center. Breakfast that brings you back. Open 24/7 right off I-81, exit 36.
Welcome back to First Horizons Green Sports Zone, and welcome back to this week's edition of the Gary's Paint Body Shop Shawn Jones Show, where we cover everything atop Rebel Hill with the South Greene Rebels football team. As always, I'm joined here with head coach Shawn Jones. So you got Chuckey-Doak this week. Huge county rivalry. I know I've said it multiple times this week already. It's potentially the best rivalry in the county. Definitely has been over the past few years. It's been the most competitive. It's seen two of the better teams within the county so far in this half decade, and we're looking for another classic game on Friday night. This year's edition will be atop Rebel Hill this Friday night. What can we expect when the Black Knights and the Rebels take the field?
Well, they're riding high. They had they come in 3-0 last week against Unicoi, and after winning one game last year, and they're riding a little high. They had a little hiccup against Unicoi, and watching film, they did some good stuff against Unicoi, but it is a big game. It's that county game, it's that community game, and that's the way we look at it. We look at it as the next game. Throw all the other stuff aside. Used to, it was a big conference game. When I was in school, and for many, many years, it was a conference game, but it's not anymore. But it's still a good old county rival. But we've been very successful the last few years. Had the hiccup, I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago when they come up. 3 years ago, we actually had the lead, held them. They didn't even have an offensive touchdown in the first half. They come out and kind of dominate in the second half and win the ball game going away. But other than that, we've had our way. We felt like with Chuckey-Doak for the last few years. But hey, we got to come in here. We got to play physical football. Chuckey-Doak's going to bring their best. Coach Kaler does a great job with them out there, and so just looking forward to a good game Friday night.
I know you've seen Chuckey-Doak this year, and I know you've watched film already as we're 2 days away from the game now. Just a little bit under 48 or over 48 hours away. So when you look at film and you prepare for a team like that, what do you do offensively and defensively to slow them down and find the holes in their defense?
Well, offensively, we just got to do what we're doing. Really, we feel like, will they come out and try to load the box possibly? One of their assistant coaches coached with me out here 2 years ago, so we already know that he's got in their head to try to stop the run, and we feel like if they do, we can do other things. That's what it's all about. So we got to be efficient with the football like we was on night. If we can come Friday night and not punt, then we're very successful like we did last week. Defensively, they got a couple guys that missed last year. And the thing about it is, when you start preparing for another team, who their people are. But you got to be you. You got to do you. You got to do your stuff, and hopefully, if you do what you're supposed to, it don't matter who's over there. And that's kind of the way we're looking at this year because 11. He's an athlete. He's done some stuff this year. The quarterback has got another year under him. Was quarterback out here last year. So just again, what do? We need to do it well, and if we do that, we feel like we'll be fine.
And one thing that I will mention, but I won't touch on it too much because you don't look far ahead. You don't look too far ahead or look at the next game. But one thing with North Greene getting back on everybody's schedule this year is the County Cup is back in play.
Right.
So Chuckey-Doak is coming in here on Friday night, potentially bringing the County Cup because if they win that game, they would pull off the 3-game sweep of all county schools, and they would outright win that County Cup. So there are little implications there, including the County Cup. If you win that game, then you sit in the driver's seat, of course, going into West Greene the week after this with the potential to win the County Cup too. So the question I'll ask you is, we've not had that in effect the last few years, and you've not had that since 2021. So what would it mean for the County Cup now that it's back in effect to return to Rebel Hill?
I don't mean this a bad way. It is what it is because, once I come back, we try to get our culture up here that, all these games, the county games mean a lot. But on the way, it means a whole lot more if it's a conference game. The West Greene game, it's big.
Right.
They come back in 2 years ago and made it a conference game, and so it's good for the community. It's good for the kids bragging right. When I was a senior, we got beat 3-2, and one of their players for many years talked to me about that. And they were in a conference, so it was big. So as far as the community goes, it's a big game. As far as some of the kids go, it's a big game. But for us coaches, it's just the next game. It's non-conference. We want to win them all. All right, big rival Chuckey-Doak. We've always been that rival. I'm sure this week they hate us and we hate them. We'll be friends afterwards, but we'll get after it. And then once it's over, then we'll look for the next guy. But I mean, it means a lot to the boys and to the community. But it's just again, it's the next game to get us where we want to be.
And these rivalry games are always so fun too because there's a little extra energy whenever you walk in the gates on Friday night when it's a rivalry game like this. And I'm not saying that the energy isn't different in other games, but when you have teams like North Greene coming in this past Friday night, like Chuckey-Doak coming in this week, and you'll have other teams that come in later this year that are those big rivalry games. And the energy's different when you walk in the gate, and I think the energy's different in the locker room too, because you, of course, want to win every single game on Friday night, but you always want to win those rivalry games on Friday night for two reasons: those bragging rights and the pride.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. You know, it's about pride. And like I say, one of these days, these guys will go to school, go to college together, or work together. You know, and
they coach together.
Yeah, and that's what you talk about. You know, that's the things you talk about. You know, one day, you know, it's like, you know, Coach Case, me and him had battles when he first started, and you know, we beat him, I think, like 5 or 6 times, and he went like 7 years and we never beat him, and then now he's over here with me. So you still talk about it, and it's still things that you do. So it won't be no different from these kids when they get out in the real world and you know, start coaching and having kids and different things. And hey, you know, your kid plays for this team, my kid plays for this team. Hey, you remember high school when we were in the same thing? So it's big for those guys. And again, I'm not trying not to put the importance on it, because it is. But again, it's a big community thing for the boys, and we always like those. And hey, when we win this one, beat West Greene, we get that county cup back. And it's like, say, Chuckey-Doak's had it the last. When we done it 3 years ago, they're the last team to have it because they beat all of us. So you know, we will enjoy it when we get it back.
And then, as always, in every interview, you've got 3 keys to the game that you need to carry out in order to keep this winning streak going, and in order to beat Chuckey-Doak on Friday night. What are they?
Gosh darn it, we got to win daggone special teams. You know, you know, we got to do that. You know, the other night we had our poor kicker. Me and Coach Case had our poor kicker all tore up because we was trying to keep away from their guys. So we got to win the special teams. We got to do that. We got to execute on offense like we did the other night. We got to play good, sound technique defense, and we'll be fine.
Let's talk about the Cowboys.
Well,
what a game!
Yeah.
What a game!
I mean, we was in here Sunday and filmed, the boys in here. My phone was behind, and they're in here screaming, hollering. Well, the Giants scored at the end. I'm mad on a hornet. And they're in there. The boys are laughing.
Was Coach right here?
No, he wasn't
okay.
here. He had his kids that day, and so by the time I get to the parking lot, get gone, the boys are laughing on the way home. I actually get home before I see the final kick. So that was big for us. You know, I was at UT. I mean, we have to win that ball game. I mean,
were you at UT?
Oh yeah, I was sitting right there on the 30, about 16 rows up behind Georgia, and right there on the kick. You know, I'm thinking, hey, we've won this ball game, and I'll be dang if we find another way to lose it. So again, 2 out of 3. Hopefully one of these
weekend.
One of these weekends, maybe this weekend we go 3 for 3. Us, the Cowboys, and the Vols. You know, good shot. The Vols beat UAB this weekend. You know, if we could come out Friday night and win the ball game, and then see what the Cowboys do.
Cowboys have a winnable game.
Well, they got Chicago, and
so it's winnable.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. So we went and got us another defensive guy this week. We went and got Clowney. So we'll see what happens there. So, but we'll see.
Hopefully coming in here with a sweep next week.
That's right. Hope so.
Beat the Black Knights, beat the Blazers, and beat the Bears. So as always, though, unless there's anything else you've got to add, that's all I got for you.
That's it.
All right, Coach. Once again, appreciate it. Thank you all for watching this week's edition of the Gary's Paint and Body Shop Shawn Jones Show. Look forward to seeing you next time here on First Horizons Green Sports Zone.